It's been a long time, but I am back on Road to Glory. Jonathan Jake, your average Nebraskan farm boy, has been working in the field his whole life. He's also played football since he was a little boy, and now he's a senior at Adams Central High School. Being 6'3" and 230 pounds, Jonathan's a monster when he gets going, but will that be enough to draw any college interest? That's what we're about to find out, because I only have one more chance to prove myself, and I have a major issue that you might have already noticed. I tore my meniscus earlier in the summer, which is almost fully recovered, but if I can't earn a scholarship to play college football, I'll have to give up on my dream and go with my backup option, the military. My only goal is to make it into college, but I have to play as a pocket passer due to my injury, and I'm still adapting to standing tall in the pocket and getting the ball out. I don't want to crap on my offensive line or anything, but they weren't giving me enough time, and our first game against Omaha Westside High was not going well for us. By the third quarter, we still hadn't scored a single point, but then I floated up a ball to my best friend, Gio Saria, and he took it all the way inside the 5, but then my coach went on to call 3 straight running plays, so I had to watch as we settled for 3. We ended up getting another field goal after that, but I still hadn't thrown for a touchdown, and all credit has to go to my team's defense, who held Omaha Westside to no points themselves. Them being that good made me feel like we had a real chance at the Nebraska State Championship, but I have to put up better stats in order to get recruited because I want to play in college with my best friend. If I can't get any scholarship offers, I'll have to walk on somewhere, but just like the previous week, my receivers weren't creating enough separation, and unfortunately, my defense had already given up points to Kearney High. My head coach called a cover 2 beater next, so I pushed through my healing meniscus to roll out, but I couldn't get the ball out in time. I fumbled it away, and I was devastated. It seemed like my offensive line hated me because they let me get run through with no protection, so I had to get it out as quickly as possible to Gio Saria, and a few plays later, my best friend snuck behind the opposing defense, so I found him for my first touchdown this season. If there was anybody on the field I trusted, it was him, so I always made sure to look in his direction, and this play had to go in my college recruiting tape, but after that, I went back to struggling as a pocket passer, so to end the third quarter, it was a massive deal that I found my buddy Gio for another touchdown. It was so fun to watch my teammates play defense on Kearney High, and we were on a path to the state playoffs starting the year 2-0, as I had a very solid day with 3 passing touchdowns, but Gio Saria won player of the game, and we went out to dinner with the team afterwards to celebrate. I also heard the Air Force was interested in me, but if I played for a military school, I wanted it to be Army, and I was still a long way from earning any scholarships. This was almost one of the best starts I could have had the following week, as I threaded a needle on a 47-yard pass, but it was dropped, and after Thang Nijin couldn't hold on to the ball, I stopped looking his way. That ended up being an amazing decision because guys like Craig Ostrander also got some looks, which turned out to be the biggest play of the game. He got caught, but he made it inside the 5, and the fullback dive put us up by 7. That must have awoken the Norfolk Catholic defense because they started playing us tougher, but running back Alex Howell was up for the challenge as he did what Thang Nijin couldn't, and I did give the 6'4" wide receiver another chance as I saw he had a mismatch on a 5'10" corner, but he still managed to lose on that 50-50 jump ball, and going into halftime, it wasn't ideal, but we were tied at 7 with Norfolk Catholic. That's why it was so crucial that I opened up the third quarter by finding Gio Saria, who left the corner on him in the dust, but the Hornets were just not willing to go away, and I contributed to that. As soon as this ball left my hands, I instantly regretted it. I mean, I had to perform well if I was ever going to get any college offers, but I hadn't been too impressive, and my coach was calling halfback draws on 3rd and 12, which was not helping. With about 90 seconds left, I had the hope that we got one more chance, and all I could do was watch as my defense did their best to hold them on 3rd and 4, but Norfolk Catholic just wanted it more. It hurt a lot to watch them celebrate, but what was worse was that I was still a 1-star recruit. My biggest issue was that I was terrible at getting the ball out quick enough, so until I do that, I probably won't get any offers, but I did get very lucky in breaking this sack and putting the ball in the right spot to get us a first down. To be entirely fair to myself though, Pierce High School corners were doing a fantastic job in man coverage, and my receivers weren't doing me any favors. I love my tight end, but I don't understand how he forgot to hold onto the ball here, which resulted in our first turnover, and the longer I struggle, the less of a chance I'll have at getting a college scholarship, so I told Gio Saria that we had to start making some noise immediately, and on this drive, I looked his way on every single play to get us inside the red zone, but on 4th and 4, I crumbled under pressure, so we didn't put up any points. By the end of the first half, I finally figured it out though, and as I continued to tear it up by firing lasers up the seams, my confidence rose drastically. The Blue Jays had scored since our last touchdown, but I made sure we got another one, and it might have taken me half the season, but I was performing in a way that would get me noticed. This was the first time that I had thrown for 4 touchdowns in a game, and I didn't mind getting down on my knees because I had just jumped up to being a 2-star recruit, which made my dad incredibly happy, and the Tigers were interested in seeing me play next week. With a scout in attendance from Missouri, I knew that if I wanted to impress him, I had to beat Gretna High School, and I felt like throwing for 4 touchdowns would do do that, but my nerves were showing. I also had to make sure that I fed it to Gio Saria because I'd love to play with my best friend in college, so not only did I need to look amazing, but he needed to as well, and we went for it on 4th and 2 here, but Michael wasn't willing to fight for the first down, so due to that, it took me until the second quarter to put us in the lead, and I was getting into a bit of a rhythm, but then Gio Saria let me down when he couldn't hang on to the football, and I would have preferred if we just attempted a field goal, but my coach made me go for it, and Alex Howell came up a bit short, which meant that after Gretna High School ended the half scoring 6, we were trailing again. It took me until the end of the third quarter to have an opportunity to change that, and it might have been really risky, but I said that if I was going to eat, Gio Saria would as well. I still have no idea how I hit this throwing window, and I also have no clue how PrizePicks hasn't changed these projections. Most college football teams play their first game tomorrow, so there's limited time to act on season projections for today's video sponsor PrizePicks. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and the more players you add, the bigger the multiplier will be. Plus, if you sign up with code BOARD, you'll double your initial deposit up to $100. And for my last season projection, I'm super confident in these 3 while I feel okay about the other 3. With this potential payout though, you can't go wrong, and PrizePicks is available in 31 different states, so make sure that you play responsibly when you sign up using code BOARD. And I still can't believe that I made this throw, but that made me feel unstoppable, and with that mentality, all of my nerves with the scout watching me just disappeared. That gave me the confidence to pick up a 3rd and 18 to Gio Saria that I normally wouldn't, but coach made us run it and take our 3 after that, so I never had a chance to get my 4th passing touchdown. However, I felt like I did good enough in front of the scout, and I didn't get a scholarship offer from Missouri, but I did get some from these 3 schools where I accepted one from Wyoming. By the time the regular season ended, we were 5-2, but I was still a 2-star recruit. I started the Nebraska high school state playoffs against Kearney High, who is 6-1, but their one loss this year came to us, and I'm playing 10 times better now than I was back when we beat them. Since this was their second time going against me though, they were good at reading my tendencies, and I think that's why I threw an interception on our first drive. Obviously that wasn't ideal because I'm trying to get a scholarship from schools other than Wyoming, and if I can, I'll have a tough choice to make, but I won't worry about that until the end of the year. I would still really like to play with Gio Saria in college, and the odds of that happening are probably very slim, but I'm going to continue to feed him the ball and hope that we get some offers to the same schools because we've been playing together since we were 6. So far against Kearney High, we haven't really had any issues, and since our defense continues to hold it down, alongside me starting to dominate, I think we could actually win a state championship. Even though I was doing an amazing job of feeding Gio Saria though, he screwed it up by fumbling the ball on the 2-yard line, and after that moment, the starters were pulled from the game, and we had a lot to celebrate with this result, especially since I threw for 4 touchdowns, but we still had to beat 3 other teams, and if we did that, I'd get a high school state ring. There was much bigger and exciting news though, and that's the fact that the Cornhuskers wanted me. Since I just received my biggest scholarship offer from Nebraska, I was pumped to play against Omaha Westside High, but I needed to control my excitement because I began the quarterfinal playoff game with an interception, and luckily my defense forced a safety from that play, so it didn't hurt us much, but I'm still hoping to pick up more college offers. And don't ask me how Omaha Westside is 7-0 because we beat them in our first game. We won that one 6-2, so I will never forget it, but we have gotten so much better since then, and I kept building up Gio Saria's recruiting interest throughout the day. He still has no scholarship offers, so I'm hoping he can get at least a couple, but in order for that to happen, I think he needs to be on a high school team that wins the Nebraska State Championship, so we have to finish this game out, but our offense has stopped scoring, and that means with a couple minutes left, Omaha Westside still has a chance, but they'll need to pick up this 4th and 10, and it was extremely close, but Bob Owens was marked short. They've played us twice this year and scored 7 total points on our defense, so that's pretty embarrassing for them, and in the end, I tried to go for a couple big plays to pad stats, but it didn't work out, as even when I tried to help Gio Saria, he dropped the simple catch. Somehow, he still won player of the game though. We were moving on to the semifinals, and I got an offer from Deion Sanders, so everything was going extremely well. If we win this game, I'll be playing in the Nebraska High School State Championship, and now that my torn meniscus was fully healed, I finally had a little bit more mobility. That allowed me to make a 50-yard throw on the run to open up the game, and with the way I'm playing, Blair Senior High is in a lot of trouble. Not only do I want to win, but I want to blow them out while putting up incredible numbers, and I don't know what they were thinking when they tried to blitz me here. It might have worked earlier in the year, but that film that they studied was not up to date anymore. That's okay with me because I want to get all of my buddies some college offers, and things were going so well for us that I even included Thine Nigel, who struggled immensely through our first few games, but was now a consistent target that I could trust. I had already gotten up to a 3-star recruit, but after this performance, I might be a 4-star, and I had some massive decisions coming up like my college choice. Ideally, I'd like to play with Gio Saria, but he still has 0 hard offers, and I wanted to get him more touchdowns, but coach made me hand it off instead. My team's defense did such a fantastic job of shutting down Blair's quarterback the entire game though, so I didn't even step onto the field in the fourth quarter as we cruised on to the Nebraska High School State Championship. I also put up an amazing stat line, which in turn got me up to a 4-star recruit, and I was getting a ton of interest. Going into my final high school game ever, I still hadn't made a college decision, but I was more worried about winning the state championship game against Norfolk Catholic, who beat us earlier on in the year. I was hoping that if Gio Saria played well enough, he would get his first college offer, so words cannot describe how pumped up I was when I connected with him for the first touchdown of the day. Our kicker missed the extra point, but like I had done all season, I watched as my team's defense locked up, and on the final play of the first quarter, I decided to send it to Gio Saria, but I immediately regretted it once the ball left my hands. This was the same defense that crushed me mentally midway through the year, but I had gotten better and healthy, so despite staying in the pocket most of the season, I finally showed off some of my athleticism I got from the farm, shedding a tackle and fighting for a first down. I thought this was the drive that would separate us from our competition as we went up by 2 possessions, but for some reason, when I had a touchdown over the top of the defense a bit later, I underthrew it by about 10 to 15 yards into a pick, and with just 4 minutes remaining in the game, the score was still stuck at 13-0. Defense played a big role in this one, and fortunately, ours was just a bit better, so I won a high school state championship, and I was even player of the game as well, which got me ranked in the ESPN top 150. Every single school on my board offered me a 3rd string role though, so I could go to any college, but I narrowed it down to these 3. I was stuck between Nebraska, Missouri, and Wyoming, but only the Cowboys because they were Gio Saria's only scholarship offer, and let me know which of those 3 I should start my collegiate career at.